Okay, I am trying to upload a video. Somebody came into my computer and discarded the last video, or somebody with some sort of ability to manipulate my video center, discarded the last video. So I'm going to skip the intro here and just try to talk about what it was I was talking about, and it has to do with the fact that ICE and feds are dogging and disrespecting female members of my family when we leave the house. And I know it's ICE, I know it's the feds because it started when Trump came into office. And they're trying to pretend to be like political organizations that would be upset with us or something. And uh, they're having these men who are like these macho men or whatever, and they're disrespecting my female members of my family and then encroaching in on our space. Like, for instance, today I was going into Lowe's and this fat guy that looked like me came in to walked up behind me and my mom. He actually works at Lowe's, and he got into my space, and I thought it was kind of funny at the time, like it was one of those little jokes or something they do. But then I went to Trader Joe's, and the next place we were there, and there was a guy who was this big doofus looking guy, and my mom brought the cart, and she doesn't shop very often, but like she put the cart over here, and so he was getting in between us and coming in like kind of aggressively, and he was trying to he's basically trying to trigger a fight response in me, and I'm not allowed to have social standing where when I say go. So I've told my family and I've told my dad about it, but there's nothing we can do. And they're trying to trigger. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to respond to these guys, but like I'm fairly certain they're feds and ICE agents, and I know that there's a lot of ICE agents around right now. And uh, yeah, so I'll just put that out there into if anybody is watching this who experiences the gang stalking and stuff like that, this is a tactic that they use. This is a tactic that the feds use and stuff. So uh, this is the counter revolutionary forces, I suppose, or I don't, the counter and the rev are they're like one and the same, big brother. So I think possibly in relation to my last post, they're doing this, and yeah. Okay, so I was going to talk about something else, which was the commercials in the Super Bowl. And I don't particularly watch commercials, but what I was going to say about that was that I try to embrace things that society does, even if I don't like if it's like a principle thing. I try to take a principle stand on things. Like if I had my own way, I probably wouldn't eat meat out of principle for the animals or whatever. And I leaning towards going that way again, but like the fires kind of threw me off a little bit. I had originally planned this year not to eat a lot of meat, and so maybe I'll go that way again. But they actually took away the veggie burrito at Trader Joe's today, so they're trying to mess with me and all that. But anyways, so what I was gonna say is that commercials. I only watched the Dunkin' commercial by Ben Affleck and Matt Damon because I was looking at my phone during the commercial break. I don't dislike commercials, but I did not watch the Super Bowl commercials, and I thought that commercial was kind of funny. And I think commercials in general have gotten better over the years. I just think that they're higher quality than they used to be, like if you go back in time. And probably movies are too. Uh, I know there's some aspects of movies which maybe are not as good as before, but some aspects they're better. So I think it's like basketball, like some aspects are not as good, but some aspects are better. And so, yeah, commercials is it's kind of embracing that aspect of commercialism and stuff. Like somebody was saying on Threads the other day, show me all the people who hate capitalism and hate communism. And I was gonna say, oh, maybe that's me, but then I was thinking, no, it's not really me because I don't hate capitalism and I don't hate communism, even though there's things about them that I don't particularly adhere to. I like for the communism side, like it's not that I wouldn't want to share things equally. I just don't know that we live on an earth where you can do that and everyone will be satisfied, and that Earth is the people on Earth are in a spiritual mindset to do that and political mindset to do that. So you'll always have dissatisfaction. And then capitalism side, like well, there's a few things. That's just some things that I think of when I think of those two things. And I think like I don't hate those systems because they're just systems that people created in the 15th and 19th century, and they uh, just we're 200 years in the future today, so we know more about them and how they work and how they don't work for people and people's mindsets going into them and stuff. So we know more about that. And, I just think we should think about something that takes successes and failures of each system and the personnel as they are on Earth and try to create something that is an adaptation of these things and maybe marry them together in some respect, or that's what I think, or whatever. And you see these things happening in like China and stuff. And anyways, I think that we should avoid conflict if we can on Earth because conflict will be disastrous in blanketing the whole Earth with capitalism or blanking the whole Earth with communism will create some sort of massive conflict. So yeah, I'm for something in between those two things. And that's just an example of like just trying to embrace the reality we have on Earth. And I don't hate these things, but they're 15th and 19th century systems, and we are in the 21st century, so that's why they're necessarily not really working now. And so, yeah. Or okay, so I said in the last thing that bars, and I was saying that pubs are superior to bars. And I do actually think pubs are superior to bars, but I don't dislike bars. So pubs are superior to bars, but bars can be pretty creative. They can be pretty cool. They can actually be spaces for musicians to play their music and stuff. And so they can be like music venues and things like that. And so they're fun little spaces or whatever. And I'm not like a prohibitionist. I don't particularly drink anymore myself, but I'm not like a prohibitionist or anything like that, so I don't dislike bars. So, but I do think pubs are superior. Okay, so Lakers trade rescind. When the Lakers rescinded their trade, I was very upset that we were losing Mark Williams. I was super stoked with the Lakers. I thought we had title chances once we put this team together on paper, and I was like, this is gonna be legit. This is gonna be so cool. And then I had to see the trade rescinded, and I was like, what the hell? But the silver lining is that we get Dalton Knecht back, and so I think Dalton Knecht can hit some big shots for us in the playoffs. And I think he's a good player, so that's the silver lining. But we are down a center, so we got to sign like Mo Bamba or something. And I think we go with Mo Bamba because he's like a young bull. And they're talking about Kelly Olynyk and Daniel Tice, and I don't really think that they're they're like in their mid 30s. I don't think that that's really what we need at this point. And we need some young bull that can go up against Jokic, and so I want Bamba. The other guy is Marvin Bagley, and he's potentially getting bought out on the Wizards, I think it is, or Grizzlies. I'm not sure where he is. So yeah, Marvin Bagley would be cool, and Marvin Bagley and Mo Bamba remind me of like maybe like Chauncey Billups. Maybe they're not going to be. I'm not saying they're going to be as good as Chauncey Billups, but Chauncey Billups was a high draft pick, and he kind of fizzled out in a few places because he was on bad teams. And once he got into a good situation, he turned into like a all world type of guard, and that just shows you that situations can damage a player's development and a player's apprehension of a basketball game or whatever. So, we had Bamba when he was a rookie. He wasn't that bad, and he showed some flashes of some good qualities, and so he's not a rookie anymore. So I don't see a reason why we shouldn't try him one more time. And yeah, so I'm actually for Mo Bamba or Marvin Bagley. They're talking about Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee, and that was like 5 years ago. And they're not in their primes now. They're like retired basically. So, uh, anyways, yeah. So that's what I think. I still think the Lakers have title hopes, but it was looking really good when we had Mark Williams. Anyways, all right. So Katie Ledecky, she talks about in the end of her book how she was as a woman swimmer. They're constantly trying to pit the women. I've said this before, but she was going over it again in a more detailed way that constantly tried to pit women athletes against each other, or like someone's like they're constantly trying to say this woman is in that woman's head or this woman is against that woman, and they're trying to pit women against each other. And like the rivalries, they really play up, they overblow the rivalries. And her experience in the sport is that everyone is trying to help each other out. And this reminds me of like the NBA where they're trying to build up the bad boy Pistons again, and like they're trying to sell the rivalries and everything. And all these old heads are like saying, "We need the rivalries back. We need the rivalries back. They have to hate each other after the game. Don't shake hands and stuff." And I know some people like that stuff, and I can understand. Like there's an element where like, oh, I definitely want to see more competition. Yeah, I wouldn't mind that they be a little bit more competitive as a sport fan, but I do understand like the not needing to get into these like crazy beef rivalries and having some sort of crazy beef with people because it makes me feel excited as a weird gladiator spectacle human. And so I think it's so sportsmanship is good and a brotherhood and a sisterhood in sport is good. And Katie Ledecky was talking about I think Maria Nadatilova. I don't know how to say the name. And Chris Everett, like apparently they're best friends, but the media always said that they were at each other's throats and stuff, and they had to build up the rivalry so big and stuff. And so that's what Katie was saying. And uh, the Decky was also saying like in women, another is all part of an example of how women are have to balance the chocolate milk on their head and stuff. She was saying like she likes all the guy swimmers or whatever, but she was commenting that like she went over a list of the things that the male swimmers were saying, like Michael Phelps and Ryan Lochte and stuff, and they were all saying like she swims like a man, she swims like a man. And she took they meant it as a compliment. She took offense to it because I mean, she didn't take like a serious offense to where she doesn't like the guys or whatever, but she says like it's a little bit offensive to say like why can't a woman swim like a woman, and she swims like Katie Ledecky swims like a woman. And apparently, one swimmer there was a guy named Rowdy something or whatever, and he said Katie doesn't swim like a man. Katie swims like Katie, and so she said she really appreciated that, and so yeah, all right. That was what I was going to talk about today. I went a little longer. I didn't do the intro, but ICE agents and feds are walking around trying to trigger a fight response in me, and I'm not going to take the bait. And I would appreciate it if other people did take the bait. And uh, yeah, so that's something to remember when you experience gang stalking and stuff like that. That they're trying to egg you on and incarcerate you. So I guess I could throw that out there, even though that message is out there quite a bit. Okay.